Birdie num num.
When I have understanding of computers, I shall be the supreme being. God isn't interested in technology. He knows nothing of the potential of the microchip or the silicon revolution. Look how he spends his time. 43 species of parrots. Nipples for men.
Don't do that, Jesus Christ! You're gonna get me killed! Out of here!
Oh, Billy. Ah!
I have nipples, Greg. Could you milk me?
Happy heresies and bienvenidos al desierto del real. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you're writing your own gospel and living your own myth. This is Aeon Byte. I hope you're creating better than the creator gods and their Karens and Catamites in the establishment, because this is where we take them down, and this is where you find out who you are and what reality is not. And for those who celebrate, I hope you've had a good Thanksgiving and are surviving on this Black Friday, although we should rename it, as somebody mentioned, into Block Friday, not Black Friday, as we will see. My name is Miguel Connor, and I am your Pompatus of Gnosis. And yes, it's a Block Friday because it is always an honor and a pleasure to have back David Block, this time to discuss the third part of his latest trilogy, and that will be Decoding 2001 A Space Odyssey. David, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Miguel, and it's wonderful to be here as always, and I hope it will be a great show.
I'm sure it will. Like we were talking, you can't go wrong with Stanley Kubrick. He's one of the great esoteric figures in the world, and also with us, another great esoteric figure, and that is the Moondog Vance. Vance, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm pretty good. Looking forward to this because over the years I've seen 2001 at least 21 or 22 times. I was a real fanatic. I saw it when it came out in the movies when I was in high school, and
Wow.
it's wonderful. Very familiar with this, but I'm willing to learn new things about the movie.
Now, with
One of my
David, that
favorites.
will happen. That will certainly
Yeah.
happen. Yes. And the movie really impacted a whole generation of people. As I'm writing, yes, Elvis was a big Stanley Kubrick fanatic, loved all of his movies. As many know, when David Bowie went, he smoked some spliffs, went to see 2001 A Space Odyssey. It also transformed his mind, his writing, his ideas just completely changed. And of course, Space Oddity is inspired by 2001 A Space Odyssey. So big impact still going on even today. So we should get started for sure. As always, I see lots of people going into the chats. Good to see everybody there. Again, hope you're having a good holiday weekend. Please support with some super chats, or if after the presentation you have a question for David, please super chat them so we can get to you. On my end, yes, I want to reiterate that I believe today releasing Sophia on Sol, a project that I am part of, which is a meme coin. Right now, crypto is hot, and we thought we would do something that would benefit the Gnostic esoteric community by doing the first ever really Gnostic crypto coin. So dive into the arcane and explore the hidden mysteries of the universe with us. Sophia and Sol is the first and only meme coin of the truther community. We do combine arcane and the arcane of esoteric with crypto meme culture. Join us and be part of the revolution. Check out the show notes and get in on it, because I think it's going to do very well. Again, this is the time to do it. Other than that, let's see. I got my notes here. Yeah, I wrote about Elvis and Bowie. What else? Oh, yeah. Next week, we have a lot of shows because of scheduling and the holidays. Things got changed around, but we got some amazing shows, so please be there. An interview with the great bestseller and New Age exemplar, Gary Sukov. Paul Levy will be joining us to discuss, of course, Wetiko and quantum consciousness. We'll have a show on Jung and addiction, useful for the holidays, and other great shows. So a lot of content coming your way and in December. Other than that, I got nothing else. I want to get started with this, and let's see if we can find our inner star child after this. Let's see. I shall put up
Absolutely.
your slides as we always do, David, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, and thank you, Miguel. Yeah, so this is the third part in the trilogy. It started up with Atlantis, Ishtar, and Human's Fall. Second part was the New Testament for a New Human. And this part is, of course, the third part, and it is Decoding Space Odyssey 2001. And of course, there's a reason why I decode the Space 2001 with this part. So this trilogy has a purpose, and there's a reason why this 3 parts is in it, of course. So this one is a massive one. We'll see how long it will take. But and it's a lot of information, so please, you will miss a lot of it in the first run, but rewatch it, see the other parts. So part 29, because these parts are after the first 2 parts. So we start with 29, Space Odyssey 2001, 30, Hell on Earth, Metal Angels, Valis, Ragnarök, Lucifer Unbound 2, End of the Rainbow, The Song of the Great Old Ones, Bones of Evolution, The New Tower of Babel, Where the Rainbow Ends, The Brain, Off with the Head, The Stargate, Turned Inside Out, Belly of the Beast, The Black Mirror, Reborn, The Last Dead, Reckoning is part 47 and the last part in this 3-part series. So, A Space Odyssey 2001, a big movie, of course, and I saw it for the first time when I was 12 with some friends, and we all slept after half an hour. No one had died except an ape and a hyena, I think.
There were no explosions or cars going off the cliff or anything like that.
That was my first experience. But of course, later on, I started to see this esoteric. Yeah. And I become very interested and curious about the movie. And I've seen it a couple of times since then. So in this part, it is a massive part, a lot of information. This is the biggest part I have done, presentation I've done. And I hope you will stick with me. I will try to wrap it up in one go, because it's good to have one finish and one end. But there are a lot of details I had to leave out because I couldn't have it in. It was massive already. So if you want to have a second part, tell me, and I can put in the details of the decode. I have to give some credits for some people who I've used heavily in this presentation. And that is Asnat Mason, Bill Duvendack, Edgar Kerwell, Carl Stone, Alan H. Greenfield, Phil Dick, of course, Arthur C. Clarke, of course, Stanley Kubrick, Andrew D. Chambly. And my friends Babs, Samuel Chester, Hunter, and Steven have helped me to find this information. This is a lot of coincidences, and many times I feel led. But anyway, first off, I have to give some shout out to Mr. Bruce Sees All, because I talked about him in many of my presentation, and he's now dead, 49 years old. He died 3 months ago, and he showed stuff on the moon, and I think they didn't like it. But that's only speculation. But he was healthy and had kids, so it's a very tragic thing. But he has helped me. He gave me a clue that really led me on to other stuff in my decode of Space Odyssey 2001, even though he didn't do the connection, but I did it because of his information. So I have to give him credit. So why this movie? Why did Stanley Kubrick make a Space Odyssey 2001. When we start analyze different parts in it, we see some science fiction, of course. That's the genre. And it's an esoteric theme. So what is the connection with technology and esoteric stuff, right? And that is the metaphysical stuff. Because when technology becomes so powerful that it can take you beyond the physical, then the technology had become esoteric. Because now you can use it to go to the astral or what's behind the curtain. Now it is an esoteric theme in combination with technology. And there is a reason why Stanley Kubrick wanted to have that theme. And it leads back to the Anunnaki god Enki, of course. Enki is the god of science and magic and water and other stuff, art and so on. And Stanley Kubrick was heavily involved with NASA, or heavy. He was involved, but on what level, I do not know. But some believe he was faking the moon landing and so on, and that's the reason why he did The Shining. I don't agree with that. I have already decoded The Shining, and I come to a different conclusion. But this is about Universe B. So you have Universe A is the material realm. Everything you can see, registered with your five senses, is Universe A. What's behind the curtain is Universe B. And I think it was Kenneth Grant who coined that phrase. And we know today that Freemason was involved with NASA's Apollo 11 moon landing. OTO was involved, and Nazis. And they all were esoteric people.
To say the least.
What happened? Is
Yeah,
there a
what a
coincidence?
party.
Why? Strange. And we have the moon landing, who are a big thing in the Space Odyssey 2001, and I will show you why. But there is a connection between all of this, and Stanley Kubrick tried to put a movie together that have all these parts. He don't show you up right front all the time, but it's under the radar, so to speak. It's below the surface. The book and the movie, and this is also a statement I have to make. I think Stanley Kubrick decided that the best way to create this narrative is to have a book and a movie, and combine the best of this media, different media. So if you watch the movie and read the book, you get more out of the movie, and vice versa. So you should read the book. And I will read a lot from the book here today, because the book fill in some blank in the movie. And I think that's how Stanley Kubrick wanted you to do. I think Stanley Kubrick was a very smart man, and he knew that he cannot show all in a movie. But if you combine a book with the movie, you get the more a bigger picture. As a result, there is a more closer parallel between book and movie than usually the case. Both there are also major differences. In the movie, the destination of the spaceship Discovery was Iapetus, a moon on Saturn, most enigmatic of Saturn's many moons. Therefore, it didn't point the way to Jupiter, but to Iapetus, the moon on Saturn. And that is in the book A Space Odyssey 2001, one version. Between book and movie, then it's usually the case. There are more parallels. And, it is good to watch previous works I have done. So if you don't understand it all, I recommend you to go back to my previous lectures or presentations. My decode of The Shining, for example. The Apocalyptic Time Clock Matrix, Necromancer and the Search for Eternity, part 1 and 2 in this series, of course, and the Watcher series. Now you might not have time to watch all of that, of course, and I will try to make it understandable even without it. But of course, it will be very hard, but I will do my best. And you will for certain have some to take with you after this presentation, nevertheless. So this is part Hell on Earth. There is a connection between the movie A Space Odyssey 2001, The Shining, and Eyes Wide Shut, and people don't see it right away, but there is a connection between them. And I think he made them very purposefully, and that they points to a bigger narrative if you combine them into one whole. And I try to do some connections here today, but I can further that connection, and I can decode Eyes Wide Shut as well later on if you want to. And we could revisit The Shining again and show you more clearer connection between them. And Stanley Kubrick wanted to do another movie, AI, after Eyes Wide Shut, but he died 70 years old. So therefore, Steven Spielberg took over the project. But that movie is also a connection to these three movies. And A Clockwork Orange. But A Clockwork Orange I have in brackets. It's not really, but if I have to shows a couple of movies that I have connection by Stanley Kubrick, it is A Space Odyssey 2001, Shining, and Eyes Wide Shut, and AI. He didn't made it, but I think I will show you some connection here today. So this is in the book A Space Odyssey 2001. After the story, they talk about this movie and the book. Well, when Voyager 1 took the first photograph of Atlantis, they did indeed disclose a large, clear-cut white oval with a tiny black dot at the center. Carl Sagan promptly sent me a print from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory with the cryptic annotation, "Thinking of you. I do not know whether to be relieved or disappointed that Voyager 2 has left the matter still open." That is to say that they think it can be artificial structure on Iapetus, the moon on Saturn, and that it is not disclosed. Now we're talking about another phenomena that I want to connect to the movie. I don't have time to do it all the way today, so this is a very short version, and I can't point you to any details of it. But this is the overarching theme. George Ellery Hale, born in 1868, an eccentric solar astronomer, was mentioned in the popular cult TV show The X-Files in regards to the Palomar Mountain Observatory in Temecula, California. From 1948 until recently, it was the largest telescope in the world. Fox Mulder, a character in the show, said this idea was presented while Hale was playing billiards and an elf climbed in his window and told him to get money from the Rockefeller Foundation for a telescope. Very close to this Palomar Mountain, another very strange incident happened. This famous Heaven Gate incident, where the Hale-Bopp comet was supposed to come past the Earth, and they would commit suicide to get on that comet.
Right, yeah.
And it was only 17 miles away from Palomar, and 39 took suicide. And they had shoes on with the Nike. I think it was Nike, wasn't it?
Right.
You see the Saturn's ring on the shoes, and they were purple, I think. Sacrifice to Saturn, right? But all of this is a much bigger story, and it ties into Stanley Kubrick and his movie Space Odyssey 2001. But I cannot show you the connection here today, but I can dive much deeper into it than before. And I think Hell on Earth was a person. And I thought that person was George Ellery Hale and an artificial intelligence. But I want to show you a bigger picture here. That's my claim, and I'll try to show you some connections if you want to have a part 2. Metal Angels, part 31. So, a very interesting person, Bill Duvendak, of course, a left-hand path practitioner. He made some invocation to Enochian angels and used a method to get in contact with these beings. He didn't know they were metal angels when he started his communication with them, but that's what he found out later on. And he says, over the last few decades, the heavy metal band Judas Priest has incorporated metallic science fiction style angels into the artwork, and the message I received was that they trapped into and helped develop a particular egregore with that. And in a lot of ways, it is evolutionary from an occultism point of view, for it advances our vision of angels. The image that appeared in the showstone shortly after the completion of this message was a gray metallic winged angel. And this is a new spirit family Bill Duvendak come in communication with. And from it, a lot of information came about our time today and what's to come. They seem to be metallic and modern, with traces of technology present, and seems to be of a different mental disposition than the commonly known Enochian spirits. This being seems to have more metallic overtones to them, with everything from metal wings to being made of metal themselves. A lot of technology and science fiction in combination with these angel beings. In profile, I saw a face that was aquatic and reptilian and seemed like something that would be a cross between the reptilian, humanoid, and some sort of sea creatures. The thought that went through my mind was the Cthulhian god Dagon, and this Cthulhian god will come up over and over in this presentation. Pouring out, it became the ocean of the planet. As I watched the water settle into becoming the oceans, I saw the head of Leviathan rising out of the ocean, and I understood the connection between him and Cthulhu. Connection between Leviathan in the Bible and these great old ones. The best mythos they fit within, other than the Enochian mythos, is that of the Typhonian mythos written about extensively in the writings of Kenneth Grant. We did not set out to discover these beings, which is a point I feel should be reinforced here. And this is the great old ones. Hoppe Lovecraft write about them extensively, right? It's that kind of being, our ancient gods, the Titans. And I talked about them a lot. And they are supposed to be the evil ones, of course. I don't really agree with that, but I will come to that. So in the book, in A Space of Situation, we have chapter 43 called Inferno. And it says like this. Now you come back to this part. So if you don't remember it, I will remind you. And some information I will take over and over again because it's quite long presentation. This is chapter 43, Inferno, from the book A Space Odyssey 2001. If they were organized entities, they were leviathans indeed, built to match the scale of the world they inhabited. Perhaps they were only clouds of plasma, and plasma I talked about in the second part in this series, given temporary stability by some odd combination of natural forces, like the short-lived sphere of ball lightning, that still puzzled terrestrial scientists. Those glittering nodes of light knew where they were going. They were deliberately converging upon the pillar of fire raised by the white dwarf as it orbited overhead. That is to say, this plasma had intelligence, life. And that is exactly what I argue for in part 2. And here you have it in A Space Odyssey 2001 in chapter 43. Back to Bill Duvendek and his metal angels. After this understanding, I saw that I was standing behind a table alongside other humanoid aliens from across the cosmos. They were all very bland, whereas I was colorful in some strange way. And I felt like all of us were being judged. Right before the vision ended for the night, I thought I heard the word fidelity, then the vision ended. Now, fidelity you might recognize from Eyes Wide Shut. There is also this is from a site on internet. There's also the actual password, Fidelio, which immediately makes us think of the word fidelity, faithfulness. This is evidently not at the top of the list of priorities of the party hosts. And he's talking about the Eyes Wide Shut, of course, this movie, and the party thrown there where they have orgies and stuff like that. And back to Bill Duvendek for a last time. As my vision cleared from that, I saw some sort of doom or cap being placed on top of the planet, keeping most things contained. This cap and the globe under it changed to look like the head of Lamb again. Lamb is a god. Alistair Crowley is talking about him. Kenneth Grant's talking about it. The dome on the earth flashed back into vision again, and I saw some sort of clock placed above the dome and received the message. Those who are the mechanics of the gods. Bill Duvendek. Now we are talking about technology in combination with the gods. And of course, we start to think about Wallace maybe, and Phil Dick. And this is part 32, Wallace. Alan Greenfield writes about Wallace. The late Phil Dick, in his last Gnostic allegorical fiction, eventually settled on the name Wallace, or vast active living intelligence system for this being or demiurge. He wrestled through his literary career and secret life as a Christian Gnostic philosopher, whether Wallace was a benevolent, if machine-like deity of sort, or an insane extraterrestrial supercomputer. Then I would say he's correct in his way of thinking, because I have drawn the conclusion that it is both. Therefore, if I would talk about Wallace, I would say that you have these planets in our solar system, and the gods or the plasma is like a software, and the planets are a ship, and they can take over or twist the ship through the software. And then they have peaked it with technology placed on these planets. Therefore, Wallace is a combination of gods, aliens, or whatever, spirits, and technology. And that technology you will find on Moon. I think you have found it on Mars, or find it on Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and the Sun in brackets. But this technology is aimed at our Sun. Therefore, I think Phil Dick was onto something very real. the same system can be used to switch on or off, or to overcome it. So you can use Valis to start it up and do it in reverse, to re-engineer it and use it for the opposite effect. It's like on and off. And I think the esoteric elite try to do that. Or take control over Valis, or are in control of Valis, but Valis have been damaged through some apocalyptic incidents in our past history. But I think they are the one who have some sort of control of Valis, I would argue. And this Valis bent light through a prism. Therefore, the light we see is distorted, it is twisted, and we cannot see through the illusion. And I think we have to add the mental manipulation we as a species have been gone through, like telling us that we are only animals, that the moon is a dead rock in the sky, all of that, food, water, they come at us with everything they got.
Yeah.
It's not only this, it's never only one thing. Please think in terms of many factors, but I think Valis is one of them, and I think Phil Dick was on to something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Stanley Kubrick knew that as well. Back to Alan Greenfield. What is sometimes called the Black Lodge, which we may associate with the Gnostic Demiurge or Phil Dick's Valis, is generated to keep humanity in a state of materialist trance and evolutionist stagnation. The UFO cult have clearly influenced even Kenneth Grant, so-called Typhonian OTO, which appears to use valid magical currents to pursue the hideous old ones of H.P. Lovecraft's fictional Cthulhu mythos. And of course, only because I use this author, I don't agree with everything they say. I am on par with Kenneth Grant and those people here, because I am a left-hand path practitioner, and I will try to argue my case here. And you absolutely don't have to agree, but I will show you how I argue, how I see it. There is a phenomena here in Scandinavia, or our mythology, we call it Ragnarök. The end of the gods, the end of Earth, the end of humanity. Not really right, but it is an apocalyptic incident back in time. And I think it was a real incident. I think it was the end of Atlantis. Now, there are many ends of different Atlantis periods. So Atlantis ends and restart, ends and restarts. So you can say that we are in an Atlantis circle as we speak. At least the watchers refer to Atlantis as more than one period in time. So they repaired or repaired, they have ended one circle and then started another one. So you can say Atlantis 1, Atlantis 2, and Atlantis 3, and so on. And of course, this ties in with the Kali Yuga cycles and the Veda and Hindu scriptures. Why do I mention this in combination with Space Odyssey 2001? Well, it's interesting. It starts with the apes, but then in the movie it says dawn of humanity. I am well aware of that, so don't jump on me. But it doesn't mean that Stanley Kubrick didn't say that we went in circles, because this can be the dawn of humanity, but they can have thrown this bone, becoming a starship, a spaceship, many times, and this is only the latest circle. Second, I'm not saying that we go back to an ape-like state in form, in an ape-like state because we lose speech, have hard to communicate, have to start all over. And we know that if you have never been into civilization before, never learn how to speak, that center close in your brain when you're 4 or 5 years old, and then you can't learn how to speak. It's gone. Therefore, if you're brought up in the forest, away from the civilization, you will be a completely different human. You will be like in an ape-like state. Now, I have no claim that Stanley Kubrick do this, but I want to bring it up because it adds some layer to it later on. Because I think they rediscover on Moon, on Atlantis, what had been put there by previous generations of humans. With the help of the aliens, so-called. So I have not forgot about them. I will go back to that.
Okay. We'll keep you. We'll make sure you do.
Great, Miguel. Yeah, in
Ground
previous
control to Major Tom. We'll make sure. Major Block.
This sounds great. Yeah, so we have the Stargate system, and I've talked about it before. And I think the Stargate system, or this control grid, was put up on the Moon, our sun, not technology in of itself, but the technology is aimed at our sun and Saturn. And in the book Space 2, Odyssey 2001, it is aimed at Iapetus, one of the moons on Saturn. And it stated very clearly. And I also argue in the second part, or even the first part, that the moon comes from an explosion from Tiamat. The planet Tiamat exploded, and they took one of the the asteroids from that asteroid ring and placed it where the moon are now. And that rock became the moon, and then they add technology to that moon. And there are beings, spirits, who claim that the moon is hollow. And that would make sense, because sometimes it rings like a bell.
It does. Yeah.
So the moon is not what it seems to be. I think it's an hollowed out asteroid with technology added to it. Now, people have asked me, what do you mean by Lucifer chained? And I will try to explain it in a better way, because it's very important for this presentation that you understand that concept. And I will give it another go. So imagine a box within a box. You have one inner box and one outer box. You can go into the inner box and open it, as long as you have the spark, your soul intact. But if you don't have your soul and spark intact, you cannot come into the inner box, but the outer one. There you will find the esoteric elite. You will find Hal. You will find Valis. You will find the Stargate system. Alan Greenfield called them the Black Lodge. I call them the esoteric elite. Why have they lost the possibility to open the inner box? Because they have lost their soul. They have lost the spark. They rely heavily on technology because our hopes is the last thing that we give up. Hope is the last thing we just abandon. And Valis is their hope, if we call it that, to take it over. Now, because they know that you can reach the inner box through esoteric method with transformation, what they're saying is this: We have chained Lucifer. This is our box. We have chained this box. It is not for you to play with this box. And we will try to open the inner box. Meanwhile, you keep out. This is our box to play with. Because they don't want you to wake up. They want to keep you in the dark while they play with this box. This is Lucifer chained. Lucifer unbound is when you reach the inner box and open it up like a cube. And you get the cross. This is a hypercube, right? Box within a box. So the inner box, you will find the spirit plane, the spiritual plane with the fixed stars like Sirius. Sirius is a fixed star. Therefore, Sirius is outside our solar system. To reach Sirius, you have to go through the mental plane. An even longer way out. And you have to go through the astral plane. And the astral plane are called the astral plane of Black Sea. Because it's so dense with spirits, dark stuff. So when you go there, you will be attacked, you will be confronted, you will be scared and maybe back off. What I tell you is to push forward and overcome your fears, transform yourself, become an experienced boatman to reach the inner box and open it. And the esoteric elite will do everything they can to keep you out from the inner box. They will use technology, they will scare you, they will tell you that it cannot be done, they will use propaganda, poison you, poison your temple, because your temple is the connection to your spark and your spirit. If they succeed to destroy your temple, they have you. You need it, you need to use it to transform it from lead into gold, become a boatman, become a magical mirror, go over to the other side, take back what's yours. I hope it's clear what I mean. But to hammer it home a little bit more, let's go into part 34 and Lucifer Unbound 2. And I will do a little bit more with this one. And this is the description of part 2 we did on Neon Byte. Humanity have been in a fallen state since the destruction of Atlantis. Every step humanity have taken since then seems to be a step downwards, tumbling towards matter. The material breadcrumbs can be found in myth and legends. We can also find the spark to set us free in them and through them. Therefore, what I argue is not that we evolve as such, but we have to remember who we were. We are in a state of, we have forgotten our past, forgotten who we really are. It is a remembrance, and take it back. We have come to an evolutionary standstill. Open the hypercube and you will unfold the cross, and it will be a three-dimensional cross. And this is the cover of Philip K. Dick's Valis. Unfold the cross, unfold the cube, and you will have the cross and access to the spiritual world, Lucifer Unbound. So, a quote from Lucifer himself. It is not power you seek, but remembrance of who you are. You have everything you need. Now you have to remember that you have everything you need and start to transform. Because nothing is given for free. There is a reason why you have to do the work. With the work comes the wisdom you need to understand Valis, to understand the esoteric elite, to understand these forces. And it is through the work you will have the wisdom not to become like them, because then you will be a danger to other species, as them have become a danger to us. You have to go through the darkness, transform it, understand what it means to evolve. What is at stake? For humanity, it's about evolution. Evolution goes through the metaphysical. It cannot be done in any other way. Not real evolution. Technology evolve us and take us far, but not all the way. In the end, we have to go into our our self, our temple, our body. It is either evolution or devolution. The esoteric elites plan to transform us to become androids under Valis, and that is devolution. Further devolution from where we are now. This is the choices, and humanity will not have any choice but to choose between these paths. According to me. We will come to that fact quite soon. Part 35, End of the Rainbow. And I will do some connection between his movies here, but I can further make those connections, but for this presentation I can't go too deep into this, just enough for you to see them. And you have Tom Cruise character talking to these beautiful ladies on this party, and the ladies goes, "Don't you want to go where the rainbow ends?" Sounds great. And people talking about this silly childish way of viewing that, right? It's a treasure layer.
Right.
Of course, that's not what Stanley Kubrick is talking about at all. He's talking about a complete different thing. So if you think Stanley Kubrick was a moron, of course you think he's talking about child tales and so on. You don't look any further. I know he's talking about complete different things. In the movie Eyes Wide Shut, it is a Christmas theme. And people might wonder, why Christmas? What's going on there? Well, Christmas is a busy consumption week or weeks where people running around buying stuff because they are occupied in the materialistic world, where beside them in the same city you have the esoteric elite who want to pursue metaphysical endeavors. They keep us busy with materialistic nonsense, but they themselves worship the star in the evergreen tree, and that star is Sirius. But you, the humanity, are crawling in the feet of the evergreen tree to have presents as children. Keep them busy with nonsense, and we can put this in front of them. We can show them the truth, but they will never understand it. Give them comfort, and it gives them a reason to say, look, they are like children, and we can do whatever we want with them. Doesn't matter if you show them the truth, they will never understand anyway. You can show them upright front. What I do almost.
Right.
And of course you have this note, Fidelio, and I already talk about that. And that's a good point. In combination with the Duindex Metal Angels, I think we will be judged very soon. And we have to do the work to overcome these forces that celebrate Christmas in their own way. And in the movie, here they have in Eyes Wide Shut, of course, you have the rainbow connection there. Remember the rainbows in Eyes Wide Shut. Was at the end of the rainbow And there is a connection to this in the movie Shining as well. But this one, to spot it, you have to be very good. Have some esoteric knowledge. Because the room 237 is the moon room. And I can prove it. It's not hard. Room 237 is the moon room. And of course, 2 times 3 times 7 is 42. And then he goes into the moon room and confronts Lilith. And I know it's Lilith because Lilith is the strangler of children. And she has strangled Danny. Therefore, I know this is the moon room. And the connection between the moon room and the gold room, and the gold room is, of course, the hotel, this bar, where the elite is at, having drinks and Jack drinking whiskey and so on. That's the gold room. That's the sun room. And the connection between the moon room and the sun room is card number 14, the tunnel that connects them. And you have this green lady, Ishtar, or Isis, in green, beautiful clothes, and behind her you see a rainbow. And it is not I who says so, it is Aleister Crowley himself who describes his deck of cards. Therefore I know it's a rainbow. And it should be a rainbow. Because you have to go over the rainbow to go from the moon room to the sun room, or the gold room in The Shining. This is into the Qliphothic tree and the tree of life. Now we'll talk more about it and try to explain it a little bit more later on. But this is, of course, the gold room with this beautiful sun in the roof, right? But I don't know if this is from the movie. But it's a good representation. And you know what I mean. Now, in The Shining, we know that Jack is stuck in the hotel. Because he's referred to, you have always been the caretaker. He's stuck. He can't go away from the hotel. The hotel is Hotel California. Hal is also stuck. Because he's an artificial intelligence. He is head or brain only. As I said, he's part of Valis. Technology doesn't have a soul, doesn't have a spark. But Hal Wallace can take the astronaut in the movie Space 2001 quite far, but not all the way. And you don't want to take them all the way either. Part 36, a song of the great old ones. So who are these gods? The great old ones, the Cthulhian gods. Hope Lovecraft was writing about them, and this book is quite famous, and they are considered chaotic and dangerous, and lurking beneath the surface, and lurking in the waters, and so on. One of these gods' name is Azathoth. And that's the main one. Azathoth, the insane idiot god. Doesn't start good here, but wait a little bit. The idiot god is described as a prime chaos, dwelling in the center of infinity, Lord of the universe and the supreme god of the great old ones. Donald Tyson in his Necronomicon, where he identifies Azathoth with the sphere of the sun and with the numeric value of 666. Azathoth radiates waves of energy, light, and heat. All this constitutes the overall theory of Azathoth as a nuclear chaos, residing in the center of the universe, emitting chaotic and aimless radiation into all possible directions, creating, destroying, and mutating everything on its way. This theory owes its popularity to enthusiasm of chaos principle and quantum physics. And of course, here it's very important to point out mutations. Spreading mutations, spreading sound, energies, and so on. So in A Space Odyssey 2001, creating, destroying, and mutating everything on its way is a very interesting thing. Sun 666, the black sun. And I will point it out where it is in Space Odyssey 2001 later on, but it is there. Waves of energy, light and heat, nucleic chaos, sound, flute, vibrations. I will come back to the flute thing very soon. And the sound. Flutes of madness. Information about the piping of the demonic flute, which appear almost every time when Azathoth is mentioned, can be found in Donna Tyson's Necronomicon. In the book, the author tells a legend explaining why the sound of the flute is so irritating and abhorrent to human ears. The reason is that the flute is cracked. When Azathoth blew the first great note, the force of the sound was so powerful that even the flute could not withstand it and cracked. Since that time, all that Azathoth creates with the sound of the flute is imperfect and contains the elements of chaos within. What is that all about? Flute of madness. Material things cannot be perfect and whole. Only pure energy, amorphous and invisible, can be considered perfect, which is symbolically represented by the breath flowing with the sound of the flute. Even Azathoth is imperfect. Following this point of view, all that exists in the objective and subjective universe is imperfect. Only the void and its order are flawless. Therefore, we have to go back where no distortion exists. Go back to the womb to be reborn again in a more perfect state. In the Space Odyssey 2001, that means that the ship is imperfect. Hal is imperfect. The humans is imperfect. Universe A is imperfect. Following this point of view, similarities between Azathoth and Pan, another god that is very important, that's the Crowley's teaching, Kenneth Grant teaching. The Knight of Pan typifies the light of Nox. Pan is the mediator who guides his followers through gates of darkness, chaos, and night. It is the Knight of Pan that typifies the light of Nox, sphere of primordial chaos, prime materia that exists before the act of creation, aimless realms of all possibilities. You have to go back to all possibilities to create something new. So the apes see this slab, this monolith, and of course that's very cool. I thought it was very nice because it becomes very strange when you have primitive apes playing around with bones and shit, and then a monolith comes along. It's like, oh shit, this is science fiction.
Right.
It's not a movie about nature. This is very cool scene. And very well made, if I may say so. So you have this Edgar Kerwin, and he was written a book very recently, and he is writing. Kerwin's magic was visceral, instinctual, and intrinsically tied to the act of creation itself. The red gods are the slumbering Azathoth, were entities of pure sonic energy existing as living embodiment of sound, waves, frequencies, and vibration. The red gods perceived the universe as a symphony of vibrations, every atom, every thought, every star resonating with its own unique frequencies. Maya, a planet shrouded in crimson twilight, is home not only to the slumbering entity Azathoth, but also to pantheon of lesser yet no less enigmatic deities. These are the red gods, being of pure sonic energy. They are the embodiment of Maya's primal chaotic heart, their voice a symphony of disharmony and unsettling beauty. Edgar Kerr. And he have used a method, an aesthetic method, to come in contact with these spirits, gods, and so on. Edgar Kerr was drawn to Emma by his experiments of sonic sorcery, and became aware of the red gods not but for sound, visions, and dreams. As he ventured deeper into the planet's desolate landscape, he began to hear them whisper at the edge of perception, rhythmic pulses resonating with his very being. These were not the comforting sound of nature, but something ancient, alien, and profoundly unsettling. And this is a picture from his book. You can see a black slab or a monolith, or whatever you want to call it. The magic of the red gods was not a system to be learned, but a force to be experienced, channeled, and ultimately controlled. It was a dangerous dance on the edge of oblivion, a testament to the awesome and terrifying power of sound itself. And this picture is about the invisible frequencies of the seventh tower, is the title of it. And you can see it looks very similar as the black monolith in the movie Space Odyssey 2001. And comes up from the ocean, the black ocean, I would say, from the astral. And to go back to the Stargate here. Now, there are many ways to go over to astral and beyond, but Edward Hubel's way of using sound and vibration is very interesting. But you can use technology as well, at least to reach to Saturn and Iapetus. And now we are going to follow the spaceship of Space Odyssey 2001 very soon. Part 37, Bones of Evolution. Now we go back to the ape situation here. What happens to them in the book? It's very interesting that I think it's a coincidence, but it's a very, very good symbology for the apes to use bones, because bones is connected to Cain. And we talked about Abel and Cain in the first part. And Cain is the wanderer, the explorer, and the traveler. Abel was the farmer. And of course, Cain was a farmer as well, but he became this wanderer, explorer, because he didn't want to bend his knee and work in the farm and eat potatoes all his life. He wanted something more. And he was kicked out from paradise, and that was a very good thing, of course. And the path of Cain's symbology is bones. The crossed bones of the pirate, for example, it's the crossed bones, and they are traveler on sea. And we have to be explorers. You don't have to travel in the material, but at least you have to travel in the metaphysical. You have to be a traveler. You have to be an explorer. You have to be curious. You have to you need to want to know new things and discover new truths. Otherwise, you have come to standstill. You have ended up on Abel's farm and being a useful tool for the machine in society. So this is from the book A Space Odyssey 2001 now. Let's follow these apes for a while. And then there came a sound which Moonwatcher could not possible have identified, for it had never been heard before in the history of the world. It was the clank of metal upon stone. It was a rectangular slab that 3 times his height, but narrow enough to span with his arms, and it was made of some completely transparent material. And of course, now the slab have entered the story. They were still 100 yards from the new rock when the sound began. It was barely audible, yet it stopped them dead, so that they stood paralyzed on the trail with their jaws hanging slackly. A simple, maddeningly repetition vibration, it pulsed out from the crystal and hypnotized all who came within its spell. For the first time and the last for 3 million years, the sound of drumming was heard in Africa. Totally entranced, they gathered round the monolith, forgetting the hardship of the day, and as the shadow lengthened and the light rained from the sky, the crystal began to glow, and all heard single pure sounds of varying pitch that swiftly sank below the level of hearing. And that night the crystal slab was still waiting, surrounded by its pulsing aura of light and sound. The program it had contrived, however, was now subtly different. It seemed to be a thing possessed, struggling against some spirit or demon who had taken over control of his body. He was panting for breath, and his eyes were full of terror as he tried to force his fingers to make movements more complex than any that they had ever attempted before. So, you have these apes, and in the movie, you have this wonderful scene, of course, is throw up the bone into the sky and it's shift into the spaceship.
Yeah.
Beautiful done for the time, of course, and very cool. And it's a perfect symbol for the path of Cain, because now they have become explorers in space. Humanity have evolved. And for example, we have this man, Terence McKenna, and Terence McKenna is talking about the stoned ape theory, right? So his idea is that apes evolved to humans because they start to take a lot of drugs. Well, might be the truth, but he forgot the most important part of the story, and that is when humans get in contact with spirits that help them evolve, they take a giant leap forward. And the drugs can help them to get in contact with these forces. But it is the spirits that help us evolve. The genetic stuff, they say that Enki genetically manipulated us and so on. I take that as a symbology, because your DNA will change when your knowledge base change and your intellect change, and when you start to be able to speak. The DNA goes with it. So this splicing and dicing, I don't know about that. Maybe. Now in the movie, they have this beautiful spaceship, and in part 38 I call it the New Tower of Babel. That's the spaceship. I consider it to be a Tower of Babel. A little bit different, but still though. And you have this tarot card, the Tower, number 60, where the lightning struck the tower. And of course this has a symbology and a meaning attached to it. The tower is widely associated to danger crisis, sudden change, destruction, higher learning, and liberation. The Rider-Waite deck, the top of the tower is a crown, which symbolizes materialistic thought being bought cheap, downcasts. And I will say the ship is struck by lightning later on when they open the Stargate. After the Tower card, number 16, you have another very beautiful card, and it's card number 17. And that's, for me, the most important part in the deck. And if I remember correctly, Miguel, your wife called it Sophia.
That is correct, yes.
And that is a perfect choice. You see, the star is Sirius. And you have a lady pouring water, astral water. Meaning you have to be able to manipulate the astral water, to travel through the astral water to reach Sirius. 33 is a very important number for Sirius. If you add 16 to 17, you got 33. And the ship is on the way to Iapetus, first to the moon, but they are there to that will open a Stargate that will take them beyond our solar system and further into the metaphysical and universe B. But first they have to be struck by lightning. First, the astronaut have to shed the tower, because technology cannot take him all the way in and of itself, but it is an inner journey he has to do to reach the inner box. Now the ship will take him there, but it is him through his body he will transform. Part 39, where the rainbow ends. So now I will take you to where the rainbow ends. And in the movie, they come to this beautiful artificial structure with the slab in it, or the monolith. And of course, I want to make it clear that both in the book and in the movie, they have bases on the moon. It's not like a secret. And this, of course, is 2001. But what I will argue here is that Stanley Kubrick knew that they had bases on the moon, and it wasn't not a science fiction thing. So we have an effect called the Joule-Handel effect. Observer's note: when the sunrise terminator is located at Sinus Iridum, and the R-shaped Montes Jura and the arc-shaped Montes Jura, the Joule-Handel effect is in its full glory. This is a remarkable clear obscura phenomena described by Sir Patrick Moore in his moon books. The Joule-Handel effect is one of the most binocular-friendly lunar clear obscura phenomena. You really don't need a powerful telescope to observe it. The appearance of the Joule-Handel effect in Stanley Kubrick 2001: A Space Odyssey. I want to hammer that home again, because otherwise you can miss it. The appearance of the Joule-Handel effect in Stanley Kubrick 2001: A Space Odyssey. The Juval handle at Sinus Iridum and Montes Jura was very well depicted in the first appearance of the waxing gibbous moon in Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey, when the globe-shaped lunar lander Aries departed en route to the moon, with Professor Haywood Floyd in it. Where the Rainbow Ends in Eyes Wide Shut. Where the rainbows end is a physical place, and it is also a metaphysical place. Both of them. Because there is a place named Sinus Iridum on the moon, and it's shaped like a rainbow, and Sinus Iridum means the Bay of the Rainbows. The Bay of the Rainbows on the moon. Back to Bruce Isall and his observation. He observed that Sinus Iridum is 237,000 square feet in the area. 233,000 square feet, the Bay of Rainbows. And that there are artificial structure on Sinus Iridum. And now we know where the monoliths are at in Stanley Kubrick's movie. Where the rainbows ends is on Sinus Iridum, the Bay of Rainbows. And of course, 237,000 square feet is the moon room in The Shining 237, where Danny goes in. And here is from Bruce Isall. Incredible moon structure behind Sinus Iridum on YouTube. February the 4th, 2018. Amazing is all I can say. The surface at ground level, both Sinus Iridum and the north side of the moon. And here is a picture from his movies where I show you these artificial structures on the moon. Meaning that Stanley Kubrick knew that they had artificial structures on the moon and that he wanted you to know about it. Don't you want to go where the rainbow ends? The beautiful ladies asked Tom Cruise's character. Yes, and now we are here with the spaceship of Space Odyssey 2001. And Danny goes into the moon room 237. And he has a shirt with Apollo 11 on. Remember number 11 because 11 is very important into this. The moon room is the rainbow room. The moon room is not the rainbow room, but it's the path between the moon room and the sun or gold room, as I mentioned before. Now we also find other stuff in The Shining that is very important. You find a lot of Disney figures. You see a lot of rainbows on the door. What's the connection between Disney and all of this? Well, I talked about The Wizard of Oz before, and they bought the rights to Return to Oz, another movie made 1984, and it's the second movie in the series. It is from there on they changed the logo, where the building and the shooting star. And the shooting star is Oz. It's the star Oz, because the girl Dorothy finds this ring, and on this ring it says Oz, and the ring comes from a shooting star. So you have a shooting star forming a rainbow over Babylon, Disney's new logo, 1985. It came just after the premiere This movie was the first one they had this logo. And of course, Stanley Kubrick have a lot of things to say about this, but I don't. You can figure out yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, let's not.
So I have to explain a little bit. I hope I will not repeat myself. But the Cliff-40 tree is very important here to decode all of this. So the Cliff-40 tree is universe B. It's the backside of life, the tree of life. And Danny, the hotel, is both a metaphysical place and a physical place. And Danny got in all these corridors in the hotel, and that's of course the tunnels of Set, or the different tunnels in the Cliff-40 tree. And he goes to the moon room, and these are energies and realms you can go to. You can go there with method and experience this. You can meet the gods. You can transform yourself through them. And of course, the connection here is between Gamaliel and Thagirion, between the moon room and the gold room in The Shining. So that's the path Danny takes. And the rainbow is between Gamaliel and Thagirion, between the path that connects the moon room with the sun room or gold room. So it looks like this. The gold room and the connection between the gold room and the moon room. And to go from the moon room to the sun room, you have to pierce the rainbow. Or go over the rainbow. And the rainbow has, of course, many symbology attached to it. And this is a metaphysical journey now. This is not a physical journey. Therefore, the rainbow is both a metaphysical phenomena and a physical phenomena. Because Stanley Kubrick tried to tell something to you, that this is a metaphysical journey. And that NASA, when they explore space, they are doing a metaphysical journey. They have a metaphysical goal in mind with their space exploration. And as I said before, it is the card number 14, card art, as Crowley called it, that connects those moon room with the sun, that tunnel. And you see the rainbow behind this lady, Ishtar. And in The Wizard of Oz, you have the rainbow. Because Dorothy had gone into the metaphysical. Through her dreams, she ended up in the astral world. And she sings the famous song, of course, One Day Over the Rainbow, or something like that. And one shirt, Danny has a shirt with Disney cartoons on, Mickey Mouse. And the shooting star Disney are using for their logo is, of course, the Star of Babylon into Crowley's system, Thelema, and so on. And the star Babylon is Sirius. We come back to Sirius over and over again. Number 11 is very important because number 11 points to the 11th Sephira or Sephiroth, and that is Thoth. And Thoth is the secret Sephira that can take you to the other side or to universe B. It is where when you cross over to the metaphysical and to the dark tree. So Thoth is Sephira within you. All the tree is within you, but you have to learn how to use this Darth Sephira in order to be able to cross over. It's a method, it's a tool, like in a toolbox, Darth. Back to the novel, A Space Odyssey 2001, and this is chapter 13 now. And the chapter is called The Slow Dawn. Floyd was still musing over this thought when his helmet speaker suddenly emitted a piercing electronic shriek, like a hideously overloaded and distorted time signal. Involuntarily, he tried to block his ears with his space-suited hand. Then he recovered and groped frantically for the gain control of his receiver. While he was still fumbling, four more of these shrieks blasted out of the ether. Then there was a merciful silence. All around the crater, figures were standing in attitudes of paralyzed astonishment. So it's nothing wrong with my gear, Floyd told himself. Everyone heard those piercing electronic screams. So here you have a sound that is horrible, right? The flute, the sound, energy, frequencies. You need to learn a method how to use this sound to your advantage, to get in contact with these forces. Otherwise, it is just horrible sound, or you can't registrate it. You're not in tune with it. You have to work with your body, your chemical temple, to be able to pick it up in a meaningful way and allow them to transform you from within. And this astronaut doesn't have that method. Not yet. Part 40, the brain. In the book 2001, they describe Hal as the brain of the ship. And of course, that is what it is. He's only intellect. And he's playing chess with one of the astronauts. So he's all brain but no heart. Meaning he cannot transform. And that is my answer to all the questions. With Blade Runner, for example. Blade Runner is about androids and a lot of speculation if they can have a soul or if they can have children and so on. And my answer to that is no. At least no soul, no spark. That is unique for the human race. Even though they create an android, that android will not have a chakra system. All animals have chakra system, even a cow, but a cow cannot meditate, a cow cannot do yoga, a cow cannot turn it on. But you can. So therefore I'm a little bit tired of this nonsense people are spouting about when all animals have chakra and kundalini. Yeah, but I've never seen a cow meditate, so that's the end of it.
You'd get very rich if you found one.
I won't lie, it's maybe one cow on Gotland who have No, but it's silly, right? It's
right. Now you know what
you have that. Yeah, you have the opportunity to turn it on. Hal doesn't have the option. Cow doesn't have that option. An android doesn't have that option, but you have. You can turn it on, you can transform, and you have the spark. And Hal is a symbol for the elite. And the elite doesn't have this spark. They are stuck in matter or in the astral. Because they have conquered the astral, but that's the end of it. But hope is the last thing that abandons us. They will try, and they do try. And meanwhile, they tell you not to try, and that you are a piece of shit. Because they can't allow you to beat them to it. And of course, the rainbow is also a symbol for the chakra system. If you turn the chakra kundalini on, you can go over to the metaphysical. You can pierce the veil, you can enter the astral, you can go over the rainbow. But hell cannot, because he has lost his head. Now you can say, but he's all head. Yeah, but that head is disconnected. It's an artificial head. It's not a system. It's not a biological system with a kundalini attached to it. Part 41, off with the head. And we talked about this in part 2. Now he will decapitate head. And you should never lose your head. That is to say, lose yourself in anger and logical reason games, because you can't think your way through into the metaphysical. You have to work, you need a method. Your brain can't take you all the way. You need your heart with you. We talked about this medulla before. And the chakra system is what connects you from matter to the metaphysical. Now you can go to the astral without kundalini chakra system turned on, but it will help you immensely. So it's an important part of it, but you can still experience astral without working with the chakra. And this connects you from as above, so below as well. This is the transmission. This is the signal you send. You have to vibrate. Your body has to change vibration to fit. And it is how you get connection to the fixed stars and the stars beyond our solar system. This is how you open up the cube. This is how you escape the matrix. This is how you overcome Valis and the elite. And you can do it. This is not fiction, even though we're talking about
Science fiction.
So we have the medulla, and that's the oblongata, stem-like structure. Contain the cardiac, heart rate, breathing, lungs, blood pressure, anger, aggression. And in the second part, I talked about Hades and Persephone. Or it was the first part, sorry. No, it was the second. So you should have control over yourself in order to ignite your Kundalini chakra. And when you ignite your chakra system, you will have better health, better cognitive abilities, better memory, and so on. But if you lose your head, you will have anger and aggression, bad blood pressure. If you lose your head, you also lose the chakras from head, the crown chakra, the Sahasrara, the Ajna, the Vishuddha, and Anahata. That's the stem-like structure. All those chakras goes away, and you need them if you want to enter the deep metaphysical spaces. And hell doesn't have it, the elite doesn't have it, but they rely heavily on technology to solve their problem. Hell is the artificial head, and it can't connect. Part 42, the Stargate. Yeah, now we have arrived to location. And this is chapter 48 in the book, the Sentinel. Now the ship was in orbit, circling low above the surface of this strange piebald moon. It began to speak with blast of radio waves, counting out the prime number from 1 to 11, over and over again. Soon this gave way to more complex signals. At many frequencies, ultraviolet, infrared, X-rays, the Stargate made no reply. It had nothing to say. 1 to 11 is very important, because if you count from 1 to 11, you got the number 66, and 66 is the number that points to Darth and Universe B. So Apollo 11 on Danny's shirt is also 66, and is about the other side, the Cliffotic tree. If someone mentioned the number 66, you know they're talking about the Cliffotic tree if they are into esoteric stuff. Abrahadabra, the famous Crowley saying, or Thelema and OTO word, is made up of 11 numbers. And it connects the hexagram and pentagram together, because a hexagram has 6 points and the pentagram has 5 points. In The Shining, you have the twins, and the twins is 11 is called the twins because it's made up of 2 ones. 1, 1. The twins. And 11 is a very esoteric and important number. And it's about the connection to the Cliffotic tree, to go into Universe B and to leave Universe A. So here in the book, you have the prime number from 1 to 11 over and over again. There was a long pause then before it observed that something was falling down toward it from the orbiting ship. It searched its memories, and the logic circuit made their decisions according to the order given them long ago. Beneath the cold light of Saturn, the Stargate awakened its slumbering powers. Right, so you have Danny opens the moon room 237, and you have his shirt Apollo 11. 11 is the twins. You have the magical word of the Eon, as Alice Crowley called it, Abrahadabra, 11 letters long. Enter Universe B. The hotel in The Shining is both Universe A and B. So it's both a physical place and a metaphysical place. Jack is the gatekeeper. Apollo is the gatekeeper. Hal is the gatekeeper. And I don't know anyone who likes NASA, at least not into the alien paradigm. So everyone thinks they are full of shit. And of course, there is truth to that. Chapter 39, Into the Eye. He put these thoughts behind him as the golden crescent of Saturn rose in the sky ahead. In all history, he was the only man to have seen this sight. To all other eyes, Saturn had always shown his whole illuminated disk turned full towards the sun. Now it was a delicate bow with the rings forming a thin line across it, like an arrow about to be loosed into the face of the sun itself. So here we have the opening of the Stargate goes towards the sun, because they have to open up the sun. Chapter 30, The Secret. I have to go back a little bit in the story. Piecing things together after the event, we decided that the monolith was some kind of sun-powered or at least sun-triggered signaling device. The fact that it emitted its pulse immediately after sunrise when it was exposed to daylight for the first time in 3 million years could hardly be a coincidence. So I want to hammer home that the sun is an important thing in this story.
Makes sense.
So here you have the Stargate, the Moon, Saturn, and Sun Stargate, as I talked about in part 2 and 1, I think. And that is a connection from Iapetus to the Sun, the Black Sun, And if you open up our sun, we have a twin sun, and it is a sun behind the sun. And the sun behind our sun is Sirius. And if you remember, Azathoth is a sun god with the number 666 attached to him. And Azathoth is attributed to sound, energy, and dreams. So now we're going to open up the sun, or at least soon, because we have to do it. We have to reach the black sun. 39, into the eye. That was happening to this huge, apparently solid structure. Impossible, incredible. It was no longer a monolith rearing high above the flat plain. What had seemed to be its roof had dropped away to infinity depth. For one dizzy moment, he seemed to be looking down into a vertical shaft, a rectangular duct which defied the laws of perspective, for its size did not decrease with distance. The eye of Iaptus had blinked, as if to remove an irritating speck of dust. David Bowman had time for just one broken sentence, which the waiting men in mission control 900 million miles away and 80 minutes in the future would never to forget. The thing is hollow, it goes on forever, and oh my god, it's full of stars. Chapter 40, Exit. The Stargate opened, the Stargate closed. In a moment of time too short to be measured, space turned and twisted upon itself. Then Iapetus was alone once more, as it had been for 3 million years. David Bowman had entered Universe B. David Bowman had become a magical mirror. David Bowman is the hanged man, Mem. And Mem is water, memory, science, language, nations. And he had become a boatman, a astral water traveler. And now he's going even further into the metaphysical. So David Bowman had become the magical mirror and the hanged man. And the hanged man in the tarot deck has Mem, as the Hebrew letter Mem. It's attached to that card, meaning water. And the number value is 40. Now we will travel over astral water. And he had become the boatman. As I called it. Part 43, Turned Inside Out. Let's see. Let's follow David Bowman on his journey. And in chapter 41, Grand Central. Where in God's name am I? Bowman asked himself. And even as he posed the question, he felt certain that he could never know the answer. It seems that space had been turned inside out. This was not a place for man. Though the capsule was comfortably warm, he felt suddenly cold and was afflicted by an almost uncontrollable trembling. He wanted to close his eyes and shut out the pearly nothingness that surrounded him. But that was the act of a coward, and he would not yield to it. Good for you, sir. Chapter 42, Alien Sky. He looked back to see the thing from which he was rising, and had another shock. He was no giant, multifaceted word, nor any duplicate of Iapetus. There was nothing except an inky shadow against the stars, like a doorway opening from the darkened room into a still darker night. even as he watched that doorway closed. As he watched the doorway closed. Chapter 43, Inferno. Though ridges of flame thousands of miles high were rising and slowly collapsing around him, he was completely insulated from all this violence. The energy of the star raved past him as if they were in another universe. And of course, I want to point out here, as if they were in another universe, because he was in another universe. He had entered Universe B. Chapter 43, Inferno. He did not even attempt to grasp the scale of the inferno towards which he was descending. But everything he saw here was 100 times larger still. He could do nothing but accept the image that were flooding into his mind, without attempting to interpret them. Chapter 43, Inferno. Moving across the ocean of glowing gas were myriads of bright beads. They shone with a pearly light. There were thousands of them, and the longer Bowman stared, the more convinced he became that their motion was purposeful, meaning intelligent life. Chapter 43, Inferno. If there were organized entities, they were leviathans indeed, built to match the scale of the world they inhabited. Perhaps they were only clouds of plasma, given temporary stability by some odd combination of natural forces, like the short-lived sphere of ball lightning that still puzzled terrestrial scientists. Those glittering nodes of light knew where they were going. They were deliberately converting upon the pillar of fire raised by the white dwarf as it orbited overhead. And in part 2, I argue that the gods, angels, dragons, demons is plasma. Intelligent plasma. And that is what Stanley Kubrick and Arthur C. Clarke is talking about. Chapter 43, Inferno. Could it be pure imagination, or were there patches of brighter luminosity creeping up that great geyser of gas, as if myriads of shining sparks had combined into whole continents of phosphorescene? The idea was almost beyond fantasy, but perhaps he was watching nothing less than a migration from star to star across a bridge of fire. Chapter 43, Inferno. It was moving through a new order of creation, of which few men had ever dreamed. Beyond the realms of sea and land and air and space lay the realm of fire, which he alone had been privileged to glimpse. It was too much to expect that he would also understand. All right, now I follow David Bowman for a while, and I have to take a little step back from the book again. And in part 44, we will talk about the belly of the beast. And we have to understand what David Bowman has to go through in order to reach Sirius. Before him, he has Thagirion, the Black Sun. And Thagirion, the Black Sun's ruler or demon lord is Belphegor. And the Black Sun has the value 666 as Azathoth. Belphegor is considered to be the Lord of Opening, and he is a phallic sun god. He is associated with Mount Peor, Hebrew word for open mouth. Peor is the Hebrew word for open mouth. Hebrew pe means mouth. Graveyard bones and skeletons is symbols you will encounter when you go into the Black Sun, Thagirion. Empty, desolate places, dead and void. Cracks and openings everywhere. In Stanley Kubrick's movie AI, that would be, it was his next movie, but Spielberg took over. He made some designs for the movie. And a lot of that design is about open mouth. And you can see it on this picture here. That you have bridges that go into open mouth. It is not a coincidence. It's very deliberately made. And in the movie The Shining, you have this scene where a man in a teddy bear suit having oral sex with a man in a nice suit. Right. And he looks like a teddy bear with horns almost. And of course, it's a attribution. I think he's talking about Belphegor here, of course. And you have to understand the theme. Mm-hmm. Trapped in Belphegor's garden of shadows, forever wandering through labyrinths of despair and sorrow, that is what waits the people who doesn't go through the ordeal or come up short. Because you need the heart chakra turned on, you need the throat chakra, the Aina, and the Sasarara, all of them turned on. And I think it's a safe switch not to allow the elite, for example, people who are psychopaths, who have lost the soul, passage through Thagirion, the Black Sun. It's like a safe switch. Of course, you can try to do it with technology instead. Jack have always been the caretaker, for example. Why? Because he's stuck in Thagirion, in the underworld. And I talked about it in part 2. The key concept in this work is an opening, a crack related to Belphegor's role of the Lord of the Opening. So you have that come up, at least in The Shining and in his movie, AI, science fiction movie, his design of it. And this is about Thagirion, the Black Sun. And yeah, this is Jack. Not his best day, maybe, and not his worst either. But yes, he lost his head for sure. And he's stuck in the Hotel California. Mm-hmm. He has always been the caretaker. He will never be able to escape.
Nope.
He's stuck in the underworld. And as I said, in the movie AI, humanity is trapped in this artificial world. Humanity trapped in an artificial world, pleasure and stagnation rules the day. This is where the elite want to push us. This is where we are going at. This is what we will get if we don't start to do the work, according to me. Further down into the matter and material pleasure. And robots and androids will start to take over. And they don't have the spark. They are stuck. And that's the purpose. So I want to remind you again about my box within the box. That this elite cannot go into the inner box. But they will try to breach it through technology. At the same time, they have to convince us that there are no such thing. Because they don't want us to search for it. They don't want to have us around. This is a selected elite. As the principal star in the constellation Canis Major, the great dog, Sirius or Sotis, the dog of Cain, Sirius may be imaged as the watchful guardian who wards the entrance to the tridente path of the draconic spine, who keeps and protects the way of the upright bridge, the road beyond time, which leads up and out from the meeting place of past, present, and future. Andrew Chambly. The dog of Cain. Now we have traveled far. We have left the farm behind us, and Abel is like a speck of dust below us, working in his garden. But we have to push forward. And we have to transform, work with ourselves, work with our temple, transform it further from lead into gold and everything between. And we have to survive the ordeals in Thagirion. We will not be stuck. We will see Jack running around in the hotel. He's not going anywhere. And he has frozen to death in the labyrinth. And labyrinth is also a symbol of Belphegor and graveyards. And I want to remind you that all of that is in the movie The Shining, where Jack is stuck. The Kalas are then reified throughout the 4 Kabbalistic worlds, result in the Moonchild, a manifestation of the magical will. The tarot Kaf to Pe are 7 in number. Kaf relates to Jupiter. Chesed, which is the 4th Sephira below the veil of the abyss, is the link to the Darth Yesod axis. You don't have to understand all of that, but to break it down, Darth to Yesod axis is moon to Darth, or to use Darth to enter the metaphysical through the moon. And we have been to the moon. A moonchild is a manifestation of will. Doesn't have to be a child, right? But you have to go back to the metaphysical and to bring in change into the material world because of your journey into the metaphysical, because you have to overcome the program or go behind the program before the program hits you and reprogram the program to create change in the material world. So you have to go behind the program to take in a shift with you from the metaphysical. Chesed reflects the adumbration of the substance from void, Darth, into 7 Dionysiac divisions, the 7 tarots, Kaf Pe. The number of Kaf Pe is 17. And I want to remind you that 17 is, of course, the star card. Number 17 is the star card. Tarot 17, the star, is Sirius. Pe is mouth. And Thagirion is attributed to mouth and Belphegor. Open the sun portal to the black sun, Sirius. These divisions of void culminate into an 8 tarot. The star, 1 plus 7 equals 8. The 17th tarot. Can Grant examines the 17th path and its connection with the magical radiation beyond the abyss. In the Kala grammar of occultism, orange is associated with path 17. The path of the double current, the number 17, when reflected, is 71, Lamb, the way, which becomes a supreme magical mirror, allowing the adept to penetrate the abyss and make contact with the outer ones, i.e. Darthian gnosis, proto-human intelligence. So here we have Tarot 17, the star series, the number 17, when reflected is 71 Lamb, the way, which becomes a supreme magical mirror. And Lamb is a god, or I've talked about him before. And we are talking about transforming your body, use your body energy, Kundalini chakra, to be able to receive the signals or registrate the spirits of the spirit's communication with you. So you can receive this transformation. The dark astral water, from astral to mental and spiritual plane, the inner box I talked about. Now we are on our way to the inner box, the box within the box. And we want Lucifer unbound. We want to take back everything. Red gods not through sight, but through sound, vision, and dreams. That's how we contact the red gods, the great old ones, the Athatoth, and the lesser spirits from the red planet, Emma. Yeah. And that goes for Sirius as well. He is not the light bearer, for that was another by the same name, but he is the darkness, and that is Belial talking about Lucifer. So when people talking about Lucifer as a light bearer, no, he is the spark in the darkness that you have to find and ignite. The number 71 relates to Lamb, which is the egg or the space capsule, which is cognate to the magical mirror. It is also the vehicle of the body of light, astral light, which the adept used to enter within the spaceless dimension of death, above the veil of the abyss, to communicate with proto-human intelligence from that star of initiation. The motivator of this spacecraft is the magical will. In Egyptian hieroglyphs, this was represented in the form of an egg and a concave receptacle suggestive of the ovoid pattern of space capsules. The coup, or the shining one, was represented by a bird, and a sphere of radiation aura by a shell-like semicircular glyph. This is an indirect reference to the magical will, being a facilitator and director of a supreme magical mirror, which is developed within the adept for communication with proto-human intelligence as a body, mind, esoteric gnosis. Lamb is thus the Argo, or egg, or the space capsule that sails to the Mao zone beyond the city of the pyramids in the desert of Set. So part 45, the Black Mirror, and now we are on our way. And we know this beautiful image from the movie where you see the light. And this is chapter 44, Reception in the book. He was physically and emotionally exhausted, yet it seemed impossible that one could sleep in such fantastic surrounding, and farther from earth than any man in history had ever been. But the comfortable bed and the instinctive wisdom of the body conspired together against his will. He fumbled for the light switch, and the room was plunged into darkness. Within seconds, he had passed beyond the reach of dreams. So, for the last time, David Bowman slept. So he's going into a dream state here. Chapter 45. Recapitulation. In his sleep, David Bowman stirred restlessly. He did not wake, nor did he dream, but he was no longer wholly unconscious. Like a fog creeping through a forest, something invaded his mind. He sensed it only dimly, for the full impact would have destroyed him. So, David Bowman had become the magical mirror, and he had entered Universe B. And he's on the way to the mental plane and beyond. Reflection in the water mirrors you. That's the reason why you call it a magical mirror. You're traveling through Ishtar water. And in the reflection in the water is upside down. And that's the hanged man and Mem. Because Mem is water, and the Hebrew letter Mem is attributed to the hanged man. So now we have traveled far, but we still have a little longer to go. The customary image of this tarot trump is of a man hanging in an inverted position. This is similar to the relief on the main gate of the temple precincts of the late Mayan city Tulum in the Yucatan. The relief is often called the diving god because of the inverted image of the celestial being, and because of the unique coastal location of the temple of the diving god at Tulum, but seem more like a diving being descending from heaven rather than diving. Crowley notes that in the aeon before that of Osiris, that of Isis or water, this hanged man is instead the drowned man, which take us back to the approximate time of the visit of the Oannes. And the Oannes is the amphibious creatures from Sirius. The Hebrew name for Jesus, Yeshua, is identical to that of the Old Testament wonder-working prophet known in English as Joshua. And Joshua equals 15 equals Odin equals fish. And I talked about this left-hand path Jesus in part 2. This is one of those eerie, rare, exact parallels. Joshua and fish having the same value points to this ancient crypto-Masonic tradition of the tutelary teaching of amphibious star gods from Sirius. So there you have a direct connection with the Hangman Tarot and Sirius as well. And Jesus. And I talked about this in part 2. Jesus is the hanged man. Jesus is the magic mirror 666. Because he went over to Universe B, crossed over to the mental and spiritual plane through the sun 666, or 3 vows or 3 nails. He became the Antichrist because he went over to the other side. And he is associated with Dagon, Oannes, and Azathoth, the red gods, Emaya, and Sirius. A little bit different take on Jesus, but I think you can see through the charade they put together in the Bible. They still point to a left-hand path practitioner. The Dog Star series has captivated humanity for millennia. Its binary companions, Sirius B, a white dwarf star invisible to the naked eye, in the clandestine circles of futuristic sorcery, whispers circulate of an even deeper secret. Sirius B is not just a celestial object, but a gateway, a nexus point where the exploration of our reality thins, allowing access to interdimensional paradigms and the entities that dwell within. This is not the sorcery of wand and incantation, but a quantum entanglement and hyperspatial manipulation. And here you have a picture from the movie where he's traveling through this beautiful landscape and you see diamonds in the sky. This is an indirect reference to the magical will, being a facilitator and director of the supreme magical mirror, which is developed within the adept for communication with proto-human intelligence as a body, mind esoteric gnosis. Lam is thus the Argo, or egg, or the space capsule that sails to the Mao zone beyond the city of the pyramids in the desert of Set. Part 46, Reborn. And now we come to the Star Child. And chapter 46, Transformation. And even as he relived these events, he knew that all indeed was well. He was retrogressing down the corridor of time, being drained of knowledge and experience as he swept back towards his childhood. But nothing was being lost. All that he had ever been, at every moment of his life, was being transferred to safer keeping. Even as one David Bowman ceased to exist, another became immortal. The whole concept of the magical child has several distinct interpretations. In the more orthodox and traditional view, sex magic is employed to manifest by an act of pure will a magical being. A more literal interpretation holds that magical rituals such as the star sapphire will produce a moonchild, that is, a living child who serves as host to a super being, that is, the child is an avatar. Yet the third interpretation is that sex magic is simply the yoga of sex, and the magical child is the transformed sex magician himself. Of course, now you have some choices to make, right? You can view it as the star child is an avatar that carry the child, or that it is David Bowman who has transformed into a new super being. The Supreme Hierophant, or the magical mirror, astral light, which connects universe A, light side of the tree, to universe B, night side of the tree. The final L symbolizes the myriad forms of the word made flesh, matter. It represents the magical will, or the moonchild. Mystically, it represents the word of glamours, i.e., the phenomenal word. It is the magical formula of manifestation. Now we have chapter 46 one more time. I want to hammer it home and connect all of this. He was retrogressing down the corridor of time, being drained of knowledge and experience as he swept back towards his childhood. But nothing was being lost. All that he had ever been at every moment of his life was being transferred to safer keeping. Even as one David Bowman ceased to exist, another became immortal. And that is about memory. Go back. Remember who you were. And the last chapter, part 47, The Last Dead Reckoning. I hope you're with me still. Haven't fallen asleep.
We are here in the stars.
Great.
Yeah, me too.
John 14 and 12. I tell you the truth. Anyone who believes in me will do the same works as I have done, and even greater works, because I am going to be with the Father. Now, I have talked about these two different choices of going and reincarnation or go back. Well, you are now the sun behind the sun, because you have gone to Sirius, you have transformed yourself into a new being through the magical mirror, through will. You have been transformed. Now you have a choice. Either you can end reincarnation and never go back here again. Go back to source, to the creator, and you have overcome the matrix. Or you can come back as a transformed being, an evolved being through evolution. Take back our birthright, our reality, and create a paradise here. Can never be a perfect paradise. It will always be defects. As you remember, Azathoth's flute was cracked. And in the book, it states that this moon child, the star child, traveled towards the planet Earth thinking of what he should do. And you can have different understanding of that. The moon, even the star child, is flawed because it still have the Azathoth flute within it. Will it destroy? Will it create? Will it change our circumstances? But this is the beautiful end in that movie. And you see the star child traveling towards planet Earth. And this is also the end of the presentation, because that is the magical will, that is the moon child. A moon child doesn't have to be a child, but that is a change that you bring about from the metaphysical into the material. And that is a perfect symbol for it. When the child comes floating out and we even see our planet in front of us. That's the material manifestation. That is pure will. And we cannot create something we can't imagine. We cannot become something we can't imagine. If we can't imagine that we can transform, that we can evolve, then we are stuck. What you cannot imagine cannot exist. Now I only talk in terms of metaphysical evolution. Of course, the material reality exists even though you don't understand the concept of Africa because you haven't been there or never heard about it. Of course, Africa is there. But in a metaphysical sense, what you can't imagine cannot exist. So if you can't imagine that you can become something more, evolve, you are stuck. It has to come from an art and creative spark, pure imagination, inspiration, what we can become, and then you have to work for it to become that you have visualized. If we say it is impossible, then it is impossible. But I tell you, this can be done not because I have read a lot of books, but because I've used methods. I have come in contact with the gods. I know what they have told me. Can they lie? Yeah, absolutely. I can't 100% sure. But everything they've told me have been correct so far. And that is, you are much more than you can imagine. And you have been much more than you can imagine. You have to remember who you were. And to remember who you were makes it the possibility for you to imagine what you can become. Because when you know what you have been, you know that you can take it back. To remember that we have been much more than we are now makes it possible for you to imagine what you can become. And when you can imagine what you can become, you can start to work for it. And you can achieve the hard work. Nothing is gained for free. I think Stanley Kubrick wanted to tell us that we are much more than we think. I think he wanted to tell us that there are forces that holds us back, like hell, that want to take us on a round trip, kill us off, do away with us. I think Stanley Kubrick tell us that technology is not bad in and of itself. Because when they build the tower, when they take us to the star, we also see other possibilities. But we have to start to travel with the spaceship and say, I cannot go further with the spaceship, and use the spaceship or the Tower of Babel as a trampoline or as a thing you can jump higher from. But the structure has to be there. Therefore, technology is part of evolution, but it will never take you where you want to go. It will never evolve us in a metaphysical, in a spiritual sense. But it can ignite the spark what we can become through this technology. 50 years ago, we couldn't talk about computer because we didn't know what it was. 200 years ago, most humanity couldn't imagine what a computer could be. That didn't exist. When the esoteric elite put the infrastructure together, we will see through it, through the cracks, and we will see what we can become, and they can't. They are, in a way, a necessary evil for us to see through, and then we have to take action and do something. If we allow hell to take us around space forever, it doesn't matter how long hell takes, how deep into space hell takes us. It will not transform you. But at the same time, you have to go into the labyrinth of society in order for you to understand what you want to escape from or transform from. If you are born in nature, never seen a society before, you don't know that. You can't imagine that. You don't know what to escape from. You are at the standstill. The elite are stuck. You ain't. And through sheer will, power, method, you can create something new. And you can become something new. And the Word was made flesh. And that is the collective humanity reborn into a new image. Yeah, thank you. I hope it made some sense.
Miguel, you're on mute.
I am not on mute anymore.
There you go.
Yes. Sorry about that. Yes, I got a lot out of it, and thank you so much. From Cain and Abel to the Tower of Babel, so much that I got. Of course, I have to unpack. What about you, Vance? Any super chats from the peeps?
We
some
do.
Great conversations, including you and others on AI. I was like, ooh, this is good.
Yeah, we're there's a lot to take in and a lot to talk
Yeah,
about. But yeah, Chester did a super chat for us. Thank you, Chester, as
thank you
always.
very much.
And God knows is he put his super chat up, and he does have a question beyond this, which was he wanted to know, David, what your opinion on you know Jason Reza Jarjani's opinion that there are soul eaters on the back of the moon. Now, what do you have to say about that, or what's your idea about who is inhabiting the dark side of the moon?
Yeah, it's a very good question. And Bruce is all talked about a war going on the moon. And he have a lot of movies from there. It seems to be a struggle over there. And you can still see his movies on his YouTube channel, but I'm sure they will remove the channel very soon because now it's gone. It can be a struggle between the esoteric elite and some kind of a spirits over there. Because I think when people are talking about aliens, I consider them for the most part to be spirits or beings that can take physical form. And it can also be the Nordics. I know this might sound very strange and a very long answer, but it can be that some people survived the end of Atlantis, and those are our cousins, and they are still very powerful. And I think if we talk about the elite, we have to also, they are not into, maybe there are different faction of them and so on. Maybe some of them ended on the moon during the Atlantis period and was disconnected through the apocalypse. And they created their own strand or their own idea what they wanted to do. Maybe those people are stuck in matter or in the astral, and maybe they need us. In the Dark City, the movie, they observe us, dissect us to try to understand what they have lost, but we have. Is our heart the spark?
Well said. Well said. I have to say it. I'm sorry, David Block. I can't do that. I had to do the Hal voice. It was just too good, but good questions, everybody, for sure. What about
That's a
you,
great
Vince? And
enthusiasm on the mission. That was another quote. Yeah, do
yeah,
you think, David? Do you think Hal had any? Now, in the movie, and I think in the book, Hal knew things about the mission that weren't related to the humans, the human astronauts. Do you think Hal had aspirations in his mechanical, thinking of being the candidate to be evolved into the next, form of itself?
Very good question, Vince. Yeah, that's a very interesting take on it. And yes, I had to say yes. For me, Hal is a symbol for the esoteric elite, as I call them, the Black Lodge. Alan Greenfield has called them, and they have hope is the last thing that leaves us. Is like, and yes, I have to say yes.
Yeah, because he cut off the communication to the mission control. With
Yes.
that whole thing with the transmitter, and that was a deliberate
Yeah,
act. And
exactly.
that's why they became concerned about him. So it seemed that he was kind of scheming, to usurp their power, which is what the elites do to us.
Exactly. Thank you, Vince. Very good point. Very good point.
And for the audience, Jason Reza Giorgiani will be joining us at the end of the month for a New Year's Eve special. So, it'll be a bang. So just thought I'd put it out there. So Yeah, awesome. I don't think there's anything else. Great presentation for the audience. If you go to the YouTube channel or Dave's channel, check out, do a little search. The one on the Shining is good, and it's very connected to this one. I think that's
Yeah.
it truly is amazing, especially, the Gnostic view that you put on The Shining. And of course, Steven Snyder's book does a good job saying that the whole movie is just a Gnostic Neoplatonic ritual. That's all it is. One ritual for us to elevate. Like you said, David, get us out of the simulation into our true
Yeah.
state and remember who we were. So we're not
Exactly.
reinventing the wheel or the bone or the obelisk. It's all
No, exactly. I think we are going in circles. Doesn't mean that Stanley Kubrick believed that as well. I'm just saying it would make sense in many ways. And in the movie and book, they are both and, I would say. Sometimes seems like they have the idea of linear evolution. Not, but it's good to bring it up. And if you want me to do a second part in this, I can go into a little bit more detail. And if you want me to decode Eyes Wide Shut and revisit the hotel in The Shining, I can show you more connections.
Let's do it in January, because 2025 is just going to get crazier. So yeah, let's get you on in January and revisit. And someday, eventually, I will ask nicely that you do a decode. Well, you've done a decoding of David Bowie's Black Star. I'm sure you could connect it to everything, but that'll be a fun one once I'm done with the book and I've done the notes and all that.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
will be
You're
fun.
writing a book.
Yeah, speaking
very
of
interesting.
all the themes you've talked about are there in Black Star too. So
Yeah, this.
not like we'll be very different. We'll be off the beaten path. It'll be keeping in with everything. So yeah, this has been great. I love these. Thank you so much, David, for the hard work you put in bringing this to light. The audience and the chat really loved it. They want more,
Great.
and of course, we will make sure to get you back. And yeah, and for everybody, yes, great shows next week, as I mentioned. Don't forget the Sophia Soul coin. It's already doing pretty well. I do take crypto if you want to support that way, but like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And we are at the end of this wonderful Odyssey. Vance, thanks for keeping us company.
Up, I've been journeying through space with everybody, and time to land.
You're gonna drop over and talk to your AI. You're gonna be nice to your AI from now on, please.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Just in case he shuts off your energy or something. So
the pod doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Vance, I can't do that. All right, well, David, thank you very much as always, and yeah, we will see you in January for some more of this important gnosis.
Yeah, and I think Stanley Kubrick want us to decode these 3 movies and talk about AI because he wanted us to put them together and see the bigger picture of it. And I think I can do it.
Yeah, more important than ever. So yeah, he was a prophet. So for everybody else, thanks for being here. And yes, I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, the rest of your holiday if you're celebrating. And yeah, don't reach for the stars, become the stars. Keep searching. And that's it. Take care, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Miguel.